Hello, everybody. This is Larry. This is the Biweekly Contest 16. I have about 30 seconds. So, yeah, again, as usual, wish me luck. But also just hit the like button and the follow button and all that. Also, whatever. Hit a lot of buttons. Hit whatever buttons you like. Skip ahead if you like. I have links below. And feel free to leave a comment on any questions or just comments in general. Let me know how you like it, huh? Yeah, okay. 5 seconds to go. Let's go. Let's have a good contest. What up? Let's get this thing started. um, yeah. So I think for me, this personal goal for this contest was just to slow down and be more deliberate as well. So I think while I probably could have done this first problem a little bit faster, I ultimately just was going a little bit caution and just making sure that I got everything right. For this problem, I think I, I think I knew immediately that I wanted to reverse the way and then reverse it back at the end just to kind of keep things a little bit easier. Uh, but yeah, but yeah, that's essentially what I did. I just keep track of the stuff before, and then I have some like weird issue where I was trying to think of whether I could get away without an extra temporary variable, and maybe you could have done it with one statement, but and that's what I was a little bit stuck with for like 20 seconds or so, which is not a big deal really, but nah, a little confused. But otherwise, it was a pretty straightforward problem. Mm. I have to convert it to a list because you're returning an iterator. I always get a little confused on stuff like that. I mean, it makes sense in terms of Python performance and stuff like that. But sorry, doorbell. Huh? Really weird. No one calls me. But yeah, I mean, afterwards, I was like trying to figure out if there are more tests, but I was like, it's a pretty straightforward one. Maybe I should have tested the one element array scenario, but otherwise, it was okay. Cool. The second problem, yeah, I mean, I think I bounced back and forth between a couple of things. And sad thing is, I think even in this problem statement, it said that notice the answer is not necessarily a number from array, and the last input kind of put it out. Um, I was just trying to think what is the cleanest way to do it. I think at this time I was bouncing around like some sort of binary search or linear search or some kind of search, right? Um, but I was trying to figure out what's the difference. I think, to be honest, when I started coding, I don't think I necessarily knew the implication, but I thought that I could just do a linear search, um, and maybe that'll be okay. I think a linear search actually maybe would have ended up okay. I think there's only one case where, I mean, this is looking back, of course. I think at the time I was just, I really was trying to rush this a little bit more, but I also forced myself to slow down, which is why it just took so long. I just want to make sure I get it right because I've, been, I've, I've been having issues with kind of submitting these mediums kind of quick, but also with a 5 minute penalty because I missed one silly thing, and it was I'm trying to be like, yeah, I better take the 5 minutes and then actually do it that way, do it correctly. Sorting it just because sorting is free, quote unquote. But also I was going to do a linear search, but I think looking back, linear search would have been okay if you, because I think the only case that comes up is if the target is bigger than your biggest element, or the sum of your what's it called? I think they use target in a couple of places, but sum of if the sum of your array is smaller than target, that's an edge case, and also if the smallest element times n is bigger than your target, that's another case. I think those are the two edge cases. Otherwise, you could have done linear search. I think that actually is probably how you would have gotten it in very quickly if you could convince yourself of that. I did not during the contest. I think I just didn't. Yeah, I was not very deliberate about it. I mean, I was very deliberate about it, but I wasn't very good at thinking it through before doing it. And I think, to be honest, though, this ended up being mostly correct. It's just that I wasn't confident about it. Like I couldn't prove to myself in a good way. I think I end up. I mean, this formula I think makes sense, but I end up doing some. This formula is just kind of the hey, we have a prefix sum of s. The rest of the numbers, because we're sorted, is going to be bigger than this current target, even though I have some typos here. And then, what is the delta there, and then do the math. And I think this actually, I mean, in retrospect, at the time, at the time, I was very confident. I don't know about very confident, but I thought this was on the right track. But also, I used target in two different contexts, and I kind of got confused. So I was like, why is this answer so weird? That makes no sense. But let me type up more cases. They really should make it more copy and pasteable, really. I mean, you could even argue that, like, there's no value in kind of, I don't know. But that's it. So I was just like, what are these answers? Not sure I get them. And I end up doing way too much debugging, and it's very expensive to debug in contest time. So definitely do not recommend it if you could help it. But in any case, that's what I did. And it was slightly unfortunate, to be frank. But yeah, after fixing that typo, I look at the answer and I was like, oh, maybe this isn't right. I think if I really break down the cases, I could have figured it out, but I did not. I mean, I think I end up doing it in the end. But I was like, oh, I look at the answers and I'm like, huh, how do you get some of these answers? And then I think I was like, maybe linear search is not the right way to go. We need a way to we needed a way to figure out how to like for example 3. I was like, okay, how do you get 11,000? And I think looking back, and this is, I'm recording this before I do the code review, so I don't know how other people implemented it, but people have done it in like 3-4 minutes. So I think that's just handling this case. But at the time, I think I was just rushing a little bit, and even though I couldn't necessarily in the time in this current, like in the moment, convince myself that this worked. I was actually trying to do this thing where I just try to do the math of what's the best optimal given, like between numbers, right? What is the best thing to handle it? And then I went into like divide by zero things, which I was like, oh, that makes sense. But I also just wasn't like it feels like the math is a little weird. Um, mm. And I just wasn't very convinced, to be honest. That I mean, that's the major thing, was that I wasn't convinced that that's how that's the queen way, like, or not even queen, just like not confident way, where I was like, okay, maybe I could just do a binary search, um, and with a binary search, then it becomes a bit straightforward. I want to say, or like not straightforward, but the fewer edge cases I thought, though it ended up being a little not necessarily true. I'll try to do them off by once, and then I think at this point, I was running into some weird negative answers, and to be honest, I was like, do I want to debug this, or maybe just like use a binary search, as I keep on saying, because I'm relatively confident that the binary search will be okay. Um, so that's what I kind of essentially end up doing. And I guess now that this is 10 minutes in and I submitted it in another 7 minutes, if I had done it from the beginning, I mean, it's still not a great time per se, but it still would have been an okay time. I mean, it's so maybe if I was a little bit more confident with the binary search and thinking it through a little bit instead of wasting um, about 7 minutes debugging, then well, I would have saved 7 minutes. And this is just a binary search, and I was like, okay, what am I binary searching on really? Well, if we try a number and it's bigger than a target, then we want it to be smaller, and vice versa. And this is just how I write the binary search because I don't know. That's just how I always do it. It allows me to not worry as much about the edge cases, but your mileage may vary because I feel like I need to. A place of self-improvement is that like people do write very concise binary search without worrying about it. Why I do it this way? At least for discrete numbers. With floats, I don't care as much because you can just keep on bisecting. But I always worry about off by one, so I always do it this way with binary search. I don't know how I feel about that. I think one place of improvement, as I said, is to maybe improve on that. Um, but yeah, a very straightforward function, which implements the problem. I think I was okay. So I think if I was a little bit more so one thing that was good is that this is 12 minutes in. Well, I mean, I got the answer wrong, so that's a little sad. But I mean, but that's an easy fix, right? So there you go. So I think if I was a little bit more, I don't know, more confident or whatever, I would have submitted it. But and it turned out to be a good case because I put in a few test cases, and that would have cost me more minutes. So actually, this was great in my mindset because I was like, what the why is this the case? And it is because that after a certain point, after the biggest number actually, so I think actually looking back, another way to have done it, because I really wasn't thinking about it. Maybe I need to be better about thinking about it, to be honest. But I could have set the binary search upper bound to the largest element because if it's larger than element, then like you're not changing any elements anyway. But at the time, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just like, why is this, you know? Yeah, and I was just putting it out, but I mean, this, I don't know why. Just wanted to see for myself, but I should have just traced it, and I would have. It's very obvious why this is the case. But yeah, I think it's just that you don't make an improvement higher than the largest element. But I didn't think about it like that yet. So I was trying to think, okay, what is this case and how do I solve it? And I think this was the case where I'm like, okay, if the and well, okay, fine. I add some debugging first. I just want to make sure that, I mean, it's good that I have a case that, because otherwise it would have cost me 5 minutes and I still have to debug it, right? And I was like, okay, this is not changing anything. So, and all the delta is the same. And I was just thinking through it a little bit. I was trying to think, is this roughly right? It's like, no. I think I'm just trying to visualize this problem a little bit. It's like seeing it for the first time again. And yeah, I think maybe now-ish, I was like, okay, maybe this is when how to implement this. I think I have the idea-ish now, which is that if the sum of the array is smaller than the target, then you can improve on it. So I think there are a couple of ways to implement this now looking back, but I just got a little like, hey, I'm just even before the binary search. I think the cleaner way would have just to set the upper bound to the highest element, but I think I wasn't articulating it quite that way, or like equivalating it. Yeah, and then here I was like, okay, let's just submit. I think it's okay. Got it, and that was pretty happy about it. Always happy to get a right submission. Deeper sleeve. I think this one was one that kind of surprised me a little bit when I saw it. Mostly because I thought it was probably easier than the one that we just saw. And I think I was ready to go right at it. I end up solving this in about 3 minutes, but I probably could have even done a little bit faster. I have some typos and silliness, but I was very confident about it. But I think I was confident in it in general. It is just the reservation comes from the fact that like I couldn't believe that this problem is that easy, almost. But I mean, I guess I was right. I'm not sure if I'm missing something weird because with that first search, it's O of n, right? So like you're not going to do much better than O of n. Though, yeah, I think the only thing that you may worry a little bit about in theory is the recursion stack depth, but I don't know. It was kind of I thought it was a little weird as a result of that. I mean, I have some typos, but it's not even a big deal. And so the typos come from the fact that like I was pretty much ready pretty quickly. Yeah, I even clicked on one test before I remember to do it to hook it up, and then, oh yeah, missing the number. Correct not editable because I look up the line number because that's just a silly typo. There's another couple. But overall, yeah, I changed to 1 just because I thought maybe there's some weird silliness, but I mean, it's not a big deal. Also, I had to do the non-local thing again for max level because I assigned to it. Some Python specific things, but so many stupid. Yeah, silliness, but and there's only one test case. I didn't really feel like I need another test case. It's a tree type thing, so I submitted and it worked okay. Okay, number of paths with max score. This one is a little sad for me because I definitely could have gotten it within 10 minutes. Because this is a very canonical problem of. I mean, they rewrote it backwards so that you go from lower right to the upper left. But this is where I kind of got a problem where like you start from in general upper left and then you go like in a binomial kind of way, go all the way down. There's a little twist with diagonal, so I knew how to do this immediately. I was like, okay, let's just do DP. I think I went back and forth about because one thing that I am trying to get better at, but I haven't practiced enough, is going bottoms up versus top down dynamic programming, and yeah, and that's kind of my decision here. I think I was trying to go top down, but then at some point, I think I got a little confused with the ordering, with going top down, and I think that was kind of an issue as well, which is a bit unfortunate. Because I think at this point, I should already know, and it's just coding, right? But this is not to be. Yeah, and the idea behind that is just because there is a natural DAG, just keep track of the counts and the dynamic the best function. But I would say I don't know why. I don't know why in the moment. I think looking back, I could have spent a couple of minutes just like reading the problem again. Couple moments anyway, not minutes. I tried to go top down, but I think I got a little confused with the top down as well, even to be honest. And yeah, I mean, right now I'm just pausing the input a little bit. But I'll describe why I said the things I said earlier in a sec. This is a lot of weird typing. But I don't even think that's right. But here, I think I got a little confused. I don't know what went on with my mind this moment because I got a little confused. And I think one thing that I did forget when I was here, um, and maybe I just need more sleep to be honest. But what I did forget is that the property where you can only go up left and upper left. So I was like, huh, why did I do this way? Why did I do a DP? DP would not work because I think at this moment I just got confused where if you could go all 8 directions or 4, then dynamic programming might not work um, because it's not a DAG anymore, right? Like you go back and forth, and with max score, well, you could just go back and forth forever to get an infinite score, right? In theory. Uh, so I put, I think I got a little confused here, and as a result, I, I don't know why I wrote this. I wrote this. I tried rewriting it, so this is about 5 minutes in already. Um, I should have been already almost ready to submit if I had typed the other way, but instead I tried to do a heap, um, and yeah, I mean, and a heap makes no sense here. But I think I also got confused. I think at some point I just I don't know, maybe need to figure out how to focus a little bit better. But I did. I think I made two kind of like twists in my head, and maybe there's something where maybe recently we've been doing too many heaps or queue type problems. But in general, I just thought that like in my head, I also thought that both we want a min score instead of max score because that's a more typical problem. And also that we're going in eight directions. So you're gonna see this for the next couple of minutes of me kind of struggling with this. Um, I'm going to jump ahead. Feel free to stay. Provide a link on the bottom, or just like fast forward a little bit. But but essentially, I finish implementing the heap in the next couple of minutes, and then actually was quote unquote good. But then when I ran it, it didn't even pass the sample cases. So I was like, well, wait, why is this not running? And then I reread the problem. I'm like, oh, of course. And then you could even see the directions that I did the 4 directions, the 4 cardinal directions instead of the 3 directions that they give you, the 2 cardinal and the 1 diagonal. So very silly reading issues here today, which happens from time to time, but in a weird kind of way because I knew what to do in the beginning. So yeah, I'm going to jump ahead. So fast forward until you see the head again. I forgot about the diagonal. Union directions. Fine. Oh. One of those days. Also forgot about that part. Hello again. So at this point, I reread the poem just to make sure. Yeah, heap didn't really work. So I did do and I tried to do a top-down memorization. But I was also wondering whether I needed to do instead of n square, I need to kind of keep track of the current count. And then I was like, maybe I don't really. Um, and I think I have no real good reason to convert this into C. Like Python would have worked just as well, I think. But oh wait, I think at this time I thought that maybe I need an n cube solution. Um, because each cell could only be up to 9, so you times that by the longest path being 200, so that's like 2000 times 100 square, which is kind of like n cube-ish. But I thought that if that was the case, then I might as well do in C, because I thought maybe Python may be running it up to the time limit a little bit. But and I think there's some stuff where you know sometimes I default to the language you're most comfortable with, and for me, it's sometimes C for these kind of competitive programming things. Just my background, but mostly only with specific to dynamic programming, because I don't know, I've done most of my dynamic programming in C. Uh, but I mean, it mostly language agnostic. It's just sometimes about familiarity and comfort and thinking about it. But then while I was doing it, I was like, no, it doesn't. You don't have to do like. I wasn't convinced 100% to be honest, but I was like, no, there's a DAG. You're only going 3 directions. You don't need um, the whatchamacallit. Uh, you don't need the extra dimension. So you could do an n square. I mean, and at this point, I was like, well, I'm not going to change back. But and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to count. And yeah, and right now I'm just thinking about whether what I'm trying to do makes sense. And at this point, I did refresh to get the score. I was like, oh, 34 people already got it. So it, I'm not gonna get a high score, but I'm still in a good place, maybe, hopefully. Um, yeah, right now I'm just doing very standard dynamic programming stuff. And so one of the weird reasons that I implemented the way I did was that I wasn't. I mean, I think it was given a problem that is like it starts at the lower right corner and ends at the big upper left. But to be honest, I was just like worried about misreading that part. Um, so yeah, so I think that's kind of my the reason why I kind of structured it like this. But yeah, right now the reason why I converted to C++ from C, even though most of my code is C like anyway, is just that I was a little, I don't know, I was very sketch. I mean, you saw me testing it, but I was very not confident about how to return stuff in C in Leetcode specifically, how to return stuff in C. Um, for arrays anyway. So I wasn't sure about it. I was like, I don't want to even think about debugging. Let me convert it to C++ while I can. Um, so that's what I did. And this is the transition for DP. It's pretty straightforward. And just looks at the three directions and make sure it's in BAM. Make sure it's not the X. It's not a barrier or whatever. And then, so the only thing that is tricky, or not tricky, but different about this problem is that the count is just the sum of the JSON values when, or like if you have a type between two paths to go, then just sum between those paths altogether. And that's basically what I end up doing. Um, I just wanted to get the signs right. That's why I was hesitating to make sure in my head. But um, this is pretty straight. This is relatively straightforward in the technique of dynamic programming. Um, Counting the paths. I mean, I guess in a way it's like two different problems, but some typos here, but not a big deal. But yeah, I think the one thing that's sad is that if you pay attention a little bit, like 20 minutes ago when I was coding this, I did take care of the mod, but I actually forgot about the mod by the time I was here. And I think I was, to be honest, just a little bit too excited about getting it maybe correct, that I submitted without double checking, or like double reading the problem. I think if I had just saved like 20 seconds, I would have saved me 5 minutes of submission error, right? So definitely a silly self error there. Um, but not a big deal. Mm. But yeah, so that cost me 5 minutes. But yeah, and I just have some typos here and there, adding different things, which in retrospect is fairly obvious. I think I also don't use the D, so I was adding things in a really weird way. But yeah, anyway, see you in the code review. Poop. I knew that. Silly. Forgot it again. Silly. Right, okay. What a silly mistake. I knew about it, obviously, but otherwise a clean contest. I mean, I could have done things faster, for sure. Um, I mean, some of that is mindset and mentality, and that's what I have to kind of do a little bit better at. Because I think I think some of that is practice, right? And I'll go over what I mean in a second. Cool. I mean, overall, not a bad contest, but I should have done the Q4 faster. I think I bounced back. I mean, I implemented the thing twice, so okay. I'll talk about it on the prom thing, but cool. Spent way too long on Q2, and I subbed Q2 in 3 minutes. That I was kind of surprised about, to be honest, a little bit. Q1, yeah. Q4, and the 5 minutes. The 5 minutes hurts actually. 'Cause, I mean, overall, okay. Okay, let's go over it. Replace elements with greatest elements on right side. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I just kind of excuse me. This is straightforward. I just kind of do what it's told. I think if you do it naively, it's n squared. So I did look at that, and n is 10 to the fourth, so n squared isn't going to cut it. But the key thing, I mean, you could just go backwards, right? So it's fine. It's all n. The way that I implemented, I just reversed the n and reversed again, just to make things slightly easier. But I probably could have done it a little differently. In either way, I mean, straightforward. It's easy. Some are mutated away closest to some. Yeah, I mean, I also went back and forth between this one. I initially did initially thought it had to be one of the number for whatever reason. So that kind of took a long time. I mean, that took 15 minutes for a second medium. Ultimately, I settled on binary search, but there's that case where if you can't get there no matter what, then I had a weird situation, because then you keep on getting bigger. But I wasn't. So for that, I wasn't sure that my little hack here worked. That's why I was a little not confident. But it seemed okay. So got a little lucky maybe. But otherwise, it's just a binary search for me. Maybe there's a linear search too. Maybe that's why it's easier. But I didn't really think about it because it could be up to 100,000, right? So, and that's not, and 100,000 times 10,000 is probably going to be too much. Yeah. The problem deepest leaves some. I mean, this feels straightforward. I actually spent a little bit of time wondering whether this was the right. I don't know, just like whether I misread it or something, just because it was so much easier than a Q2. But we'll go over it in code review in a couple of minutes. So you'll see. So I'll learn what the right answer is as well. But otherwise, not bad. I just kind of do a recursion to, and this is going to be O of n, right? Because I just do a depth first search to kind of store the levels and the max level, and then and I just do a second depth first search to kind of to kind of sum it up. Pretty straightforward. I mean, I did it in 3 minutes, and I kind of took my time on that one. This one, there's some. I mean, there definitely rooms for improvement. Because it should not take me half an hour to do this. But I did try to implement it twice, so that was unfortunate. I don't know why. I think some of that this is a mental block of some sort. So like I think at some point it's just about practice and kind of being trusting yourself, and I think there is maybe there's some stuff about pressure as well, because I think I try to rush this a little bit, and as a result. As a result of rushing this, I kind of got confused along the way and didn't really thought about everything from scratch again. But I think as soon as I read this, I knew it was dynamic programming. But then I don't know why. I think I just got a little confused while I was implementing it with the directions. One of the reasons why is dynamic programming is because you can only go left, up, and upper left. So there is a DAG. An ordering that's imposed on the subproblems. That's very obvious anyway for me in this case. But for whatever reason, I try to do it in heap. But and I will even try to solve it. I think I also maybe got confused along the way and got min score. Um, so that's probably and I try to implement the heap version of it. And then when I finally finished it, I was like, wait, we want the max score, and maybe you could do it with heap, given that it is a DAG, but I wasn't 100% confident. So I end up re-implementing it in in essentially C. It's C++ only because of the return values. I get a little weird about what Leetcode expects for an array return values. But otherwise, it's straightforward dynamic programming, keeping track of the count, whatever before. The kind of really stupid thing of obviously is that like I knew about this. I wrote this like 3 times or twice or something like that, but still in the last submission I forgot about it, and that cost me 5 minutes in penalty. And such a very obvious thing. I mean, it's in the problem. There's no other thinking about it, right? It's just that I don't know. I just forgot. I think near the end I was just very glad to see the answers to be right that I rushed it a little bit. I mean that like probably would have been 20 seconds to double check, but it cost me 5 minutes. So yeah, but overall a longer contest than I would like, given the difficulty of the problem. I think the only one that I mean, I took the longest on problem 4, but the only problem that I really had problem was Q2 kind of jumping back and forth about the ideas. But overall, not great, but yeah, I mean, I definitely needed to do this one in like 10 minutes the most. But I think I don't know. I was just a little confused. It is what it is. Hopefully, uh, this will warm me up a little bit. I am just woke up, so that's my excuse. But no, but I think my problem is that I don't know if I'm trying to figure out about like how I would learn from this, and I pretty much knew how to. Because at some point I like, and it shows up when I did the heap implementation, is that I end up thinking that the problem was min score and also that I could go in all 8 directions, which is why the heap makes sense. But it's just reading and like getting a little confused. Maybe it's a little bit early in the morning. I don't know. but yeah, the annoying thing is that it's hard to learn from that per se. But overall not a terrible contest. But I mean, I'm gonna be in the top 100. But really, room for improvement. I mean, I had to look at what the Q2 is, but and maybe there's a dumber, greedier one. Then maybe I could learn something about it. But definitely, feel like I could have shaved like 10 minutes at least, and the penalty. So 15 minutes if I mean 15 minutes if I was a little bit better, then I would have finished maybe top 50. Would have been okay. I mean that's where I like in most like if I perform my very best, it seems like I probably land about 25th to 50-ish these days. But maybe that's exaggeration. I haven't done it in a while, so. But yeah, even just the 5 minute penalty killed me a little bit. But not a big deal either way. Cool. Stay tuned for the code review. Thanks. Hey, now at the code review portion, nice to see y'all. Okay, yeah, let's kind of get a dig into it. So problem one, what was problem one? Problem one was the reverse thing. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, a lot of people also did the reverse strategy. I mean, not too difficult, I don't think. Yeah, cool. And then the second one is the Q one. Let's see what A Rice is doing. So the sum and the max. How to figure out that part? It's some kind of linear search bounded by. I have to think about this a little bit. Yeah, again, some linear search bounded by. Because yeah, with the sort, You don't need to go through all the arrays, so I guess that's, yeah. Okay, that makes sense actually, because instead of so you don't sum every time, you just kind of go through all the, like a almost like a scan line algorithm before each index, building on prefix sums. Basically, if this is equal to if this is the array, you just sum it up as a result and keep going. Makes sense actually, and I can see why that was so fast. Whoops, I did binary search, but yeah, I also saw a couple of binary search problems. But oh yeah, and I also dropped to 116. If I didn't have the 5-minute submission error, I would have been in the top 100. But it's okay. I mean, I think it's not a big deal for me. I essentially implement 5 problems, so that's one we look at it. On Gram, yeah, cool. What was 3? 3 was the the depth first search. I wonder if I ran into an issue and then submit this, I guess. But yeah, but overall very straightforward problem as a result. Implemented using a stack just to be fun. Makes sense. To keep track of the stack. Same thing. I mean, just with one depth of search and stuff too, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't really feel like I worry about that optimization, especially in contests. That's cute, actually, but yeah, I mean, generally the same thing. I mean, and the last one is the dynamic programming, so I expect everything just for loops, so I don't know how much I'm going to implement. This looks way more uglier than I maybe thought, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a lot of brackety thing. And he or she did the transitions manual instead of using a, because what I did was I ended up using a K to kind of calculate this, but it's the same thing, really. And they did it much faster, so what do I know, right? Same idea, but more manual, more copy and pasting than I did, but not going to take that more. It's not really a big model work to me. I think this one is the same thing as that I did. Yeah, so overall, I think I had a clean contest. Maybe I have to double check on the second one a little bit and kind of, I think the prefix thing like this makes sense, and the partial sums, but I did not do it that way. I did a binary search just like him, but I could have done it faster, I suppose. I think that's the biggest thing, but checking all the numbers would have made sense as well. Now that I realized that it is bounded by the largest number. But yeah, overall contest, 116 for me obviously could have been better, but also not too bad. So I mean, I think I had some issue with problem 2, but also, and just solving 2 problems for problem 3, and also the silly submission. But overall, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm gaining a little bit confidence, so maybe that'll help in the longer term. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to do the later Leetcode contest as well, probably. So definitely check out that video. If you like it, leave a comment, leave a like, leave anything really. See you until next time. Bye bye.